This video is a viewer request and it comes from someone who is genuinely concerned. Thank you, GGM3B, for reaching out. This viewer asked me, will the Annunaki return to finish their project, which is us, and if so, when and how? They also wondered if this might connect to the Enki's true agenda reading I did previously. I understand why these questions feel unsettling. If the Annunaki really are watching us, or even planning to return, what would that mean for humanity? In this video, we're going to explore these questions together, not to spark fear, but to gain clarity, insight, and hopefully a little peace of mind about what the Annunnaki's next move might be. So let's get started. Hello everybody, welcome back, or welcome if this is your first time on my channel. We're going to hop right in here with this viewer request about, are we facing the next Annunaki experiment? We're going to start with the Oracle, as we always do, and move on to Tarot for more detail. So question 1, do the Annunaki intend to return to the Earth? Or have they already returned? Do the Annunaki intend to return to Earth, or have they already returned? So let's see what the cards have to share here. I think I'm going to move my stones out of the way here, so I've got a little bit more room for... Okay, we've got Attack of the 50-Foot Woman. Okay, I'm going to pull another card here before I say anything about that one. Definitely an interesting card, that is. Okay, we have Love Train. Yeah, this is going to be an interesting read here. It's being a little bit on the elusive side right now. Turn, turn, turn. Doing it kind of the old way, aren't I? Usually I read each card as I go, but I really want to get a full picture here before opening my mouth. The Great Gatsby. Okay, so what I see here with the Attack of the 50-Foot Woman, I feel like this is saying that when they return, we're going to know it. It's going to be a really, really big deal. It's going to be probably all over the news. There's going to be, well, as you can see from this card, there's a lot of highway issues and things like that, panic going on. So yeah, I think this is just letting us know that no, they haven't returned yet. We'll know when they do. With Love Train, I think there's a lot of hope going on that if in fact they do return, something good is going to come of it. That we are going to be able to perhaps counteract anything that they might be doing or planning to do that is not good for us. Some people might be thinking that them coming back is the universal solution to everything, when in fact that is love. That is what we can do for ourselves as a collective movement. The power of love is very, very strong, and that in itself can probably negate anything that they plan to do. So with turn, 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 it doesn't seem as though it's giving us any kind of time period for this visit. It just says patience on here. So we just have to go through the change of the seasons, live our life the way that we normally do, make sure we're in the love vibration, love frequency, and just be patient. When it happens, it's going to be very, very bizarre. So again, we're not going to be able to miss it. I'm really not sure, but I think the Anunnaki are very tall, very large beings. So that is also indicative of the attack of the 50-foot woman. And this is not to say they're going to attack us. They're just, when they come, we're going to know. All right, so we have New Start, Fantastic Four, and Bicentennial Man. They are actually, I think, coming to see what they can change. If they can start us completely over. I feel like they have four things that they want to do. And as you can see with Bicentennial Man, we're back to this robotic being. So it's almost like they want to take us back, start us over again. Either that or it's removing Fantastic Four things from us to turn us back into more robotic beings. Let's get into tarot, because first of all, we didn't ask if, what they were going to do with us, but these card readings tend to read ahead, so we're just going to go with the flow. All right, so with tarot, oops, wow, jump. We have the Moon. They're going to try to sneak in, but maybe come at night, but it's still going to create a lot of panic. A lot of panic. It's not like they're coming in super quietly. I don't think they're doing that. But they are at least trying to come in at night, maybe for the element of surprise. Eight of Swords. Yeah, if they come in at night, they can really mess with our minds. And a lot of times it seems like that's the whole concept here of messing with our minds. They can do things to mess with our minds. However, what they aren't prepared for, I don't think, is that love frequency. And the fact that with that love frequency and our collective movement of the love frequency, bringing more love to the world, I don't think they realize that we aren't necessarily mentally accessible like we once were. King of Swords. I think with the King of Swords, this is saying just live your life the way you wish to live your life, and don't put any thought into when. Don't put any thought into the possibility that they're going to come and try and do something weird to us, do something strange to our thinking ability. The King of Swords is someone who has full control over their thoughts, their communication, their ideas. So stay that way. Don't get all muddled in your mind by sitting and worrying about when they might show up. Queen of Wands. I feel like we're going to be seeing, well, first of all, their entry is going to be bizarre. But I feel like they are coming in, again, by the light of the moon, but in such a way that strange things happen. Like when you see in the card here, she has a sunflower that is lit up. And I feel like that's maybe what the kinds of things, when it says bizarre, the kind of things that we're going to notice before we ever actually see them, is strange things like that happening, like they're affecting different plants and affecting our, I don't know, something about us. Something about us. The Hermit. Yeah, I really think they want to start us over. We know too much as far as they're concerned. We've become very wise, and they don't like that. They want everything to start over. Ten of Wands. They would like to pretty much wipe the mind clean. Wipe the, especially for specific things, whatever those are. But I feel like they'd like to wipe the mind clean. And to them, that takes a burden off of them for whatever reason. It's not really telling us why, but it takes a burden away from them. Seven of Cups. I think there's been a lot of debate as to what exactly to do, what to turn us into. The biggest consensus is back to robotics. In other words, this is not saying that we are a robot. I might have indicated that to some degree in a previous reading. I'm saying with this is that we act more robotic. We don't have a lot of free thinking or ability to free think. Instead, we just are given orders, and that is how we react. That's what we do. But there's a lot of things to remove from us that emotion-wise, intuition-wise, love-wise, there's a lot of things to remove, but they can't remove everything. Or maybe they could, but I don't see that happening. They just want to turn us into robotic humans again. All right, so let us pick up here. And if you're new to my channel, you may be hearing some strange noises in the background. It's a little more prominent today than usual, or than it's been in a while. That is my Chihuahua, who is laying in front of his heater, and he is snoring. So it isn't unusual on this channel to hear him in that way. He likes to snore during my readings, so be prepared for that. All right, so we are going to move on to question 2 here. All right, excuse me while I get a drink here. I have great coffee and I'd like to drink it too. All right, so second question. What have the Anunnaki done to humanity on previous return visits to Earth? What have the Anunnaki done to humanity on previous returns or return visits to Earth? The Clip Notes version here, probably. Driving Miss Daisy. Well, we know that they made sure that we served them. They were the ones being driven around, kind of thing, and that's what it shows with Driving Miss Daisy. They didn't want us to have any self-knowledge, so to speak. They just wanted us to serve them. Magic. Despite this, however, I think we began evolving in a way that they definitely did not expect. Almost like magic, but more destined, I think. A beautiful mind. Yes, we began gaining more and more wisdom, more information, more understanding about ourselves, more ability to think. And again, it was like magic. No matter what they did, nothing could change or was changing. So each time I think that they came back, they were attempting to remove those things. But somebody, I think, was interfering. Somebody was interfering. And we have spirit guide on this card, this magic card here. Over the top. I think they tried some pretty crazy things to eliminate this evolution or this magic that they were seeing, to get us back to this way where we were doing nothing but serving them and we're fine with it. Teach your children. Dreamweaver. 7 years in Tibet. So with teach your children, again, they were trying everything over the top, but somehow we were still able to change things, to evolve into what we currently are, okay? We began teaching our children things that they never thought we would understand. I mean, we might have started out teaching our children how to do the job that they wanted us to do because they would be taking over for us when we could no longer do it. And that's where teaching the children was at first. Well, then you start teaching your children about your ancestors and what they had to do before, for instance, things improved. Life maybe improved. The service that we had to do for the Anunnaki maybe changed as time went on, depending on what their needs were. So we were teaching our children about our ancestors, using the wisdom of the ancestors to help build the future. The Anunnaki didn't expect that. Again, we have a second spirit guide card here with Dreamweaver. Something was getting in the way. And I think some of that was actually put into our dreams to help us heal and to take this journey, to evolve, to continue growing on this journey. And before long, well, this says 7 years in Tibet, we gained an understanding about ourselves to some degree so that we would not be able to be taken over as easily as in the beginning. And the previous reading started us out as apes, where they took apes and, I don't know, somehow made us human or more human, able to communicate, able to do the job they wanted us to do, and so on. Then that escalated into more robotic individuals, which means not that we were robots, but that we didn't think at all. Somehow, and obviously apes can think. So obviously they didn't like that because maybe we weren't doing the job the way that they wanted us to. So they took away that ability to think and just had us serve. But what remained was some of the independence that the apes maybe felt previously. Okay, so somehow we became human instead of apes. We became human and this magic took place with interference because obviously it was meant to. All right, so let's go into tarot to see what we have. So basically every time they came back, they tried to remove something that they didn't like about us. And sometimes they would go quite over the top, thinking that they were going to win this, and they just haven't. Nine of Cups. Yeah, this was their hope. They just wanted us to serve them. They just wanted a being, a group of people, humanity, to serve them without having any emotion or any relationship at all. Ten of Pentacles. From the moment they started doing what they were doing, we gained a legacy. We hadn't found it yet, but we were working on finding that legacy, all as though it was predestined to begin with. And with spirit guide in there, I think our spirit teams and just the divine had something to do with it. Eight of Cups. They did their best. They have been doing their best to make us walk away from the beings we've become, okay? To convince us that we're much happier here. Just walk away. You don't need a mind for anything. We'll do it all for you. We'll do your thinking for you. You don't need to do that at all. King of Wands. Yeah, their imagination. So just to stay in power. The things that they would do and try to remove, and experiments that they would do on us just to get what they wanted. But they couldn't do a lot because they still needed us to serve them, okay? But they would go as far over the top as they possibly could. The Tower. Yeah, all their crazy stuff to get us to our minds not to develop just fell down every time, because each generation changed from what they were taught by the previous generation. Queen of Cups. Yeah, somebody who loves us very, very much. And we have Spirit Guide on this Dreamweaver card. And Queen of Cups is like the mom. The mom card. But someone loved us very, very much. And started using our dreams to develop. So this, again, could be the divine, could be the angels, could be our own spirit teams, our individual spirit teams all working together to make sure that we retained that beautiful mind. Hanged Man. If you recall from the movie 7 Years in Tibet, and if you have not seen it, it is such an excellent movie. But this, Brad Pitt learned a great deal from the Dalai Lama and the people within this community, how to live simply and how to embrace living simply and how to understand other people and live with other people from a totally different culture. He was given a new perspective by living that life, talking to these people. It was a whole new perspective. And he was content with that. So we're content as humans. Well, it isn't always the easiest life, but we are, for the most part, content being human. The Annunaki, when they've returned, they have done a great deal to change us, to take us back to this. And if you recall, we had Bicentennial Man here. They don't want us to be content. They want us to be servants who do not think. But that's not what's happening. It's not what has happened, no matter what they do that's over the top. Humanity just keeps evolving, no matter what it is that they do. Okay, so let us get picked up here. Move on to question 3. checking on my Chihuahua. He was awfully quiet all of a sudden. That's unusual. All right. Question 3. What will be the intended purpose of their return this time? Correction, completion, or transformation of humanity? So when we say correction, maybe they're going to try to correct our humanness again. Completion, maybe destroy us completely, or just transforming us. Maybe they found a way to get us back to the original serving people. So let's see what the cards say. There we go. Barbarella, Queen of the Galaxy. Yeah, it looks like they want to, they think what they're planning on doing is going to save the universe. Like we're, like the humans that we've become is a horrible thing. As though we are going to take over in outer space and the whole shebang. And they're going to be responsible for that. Darkness falls. They want to take it right down. Excuse me. To the nitty gritty. Right down to the tiniest DNA. And there's, geez, can you see that? There's a tooth on there. Single tooth. And they want to start it with the younger children. Maybe they can't change us as adults, but they can influence or change the children. So that, as we saw down here, we teach the children. What the children teach their children is much different than what we've taught our children through the years. Victim. They would really like to put us back into victim status, because people who are victimized don't think. People who are victimized are just, they do as they're told. So they want to make us weak and helpless, which again, they want to start with our children, changing something in the DNA of our children. Outbreak. Now, is that interesting? Maybe they can pump through what might be considered a cure. You won't get this sickness if you get this. So maybe what's considered a cure, but within that so-called cure is something that begins turning us back. Only this one is specifically for the children. Specifically for the children. The window. Passengers. Jaws. It looks like this is their window of opportunity, or what they think is their window of opportunity, to again turn us into servers. And as you can see, we have a robot hand here serving a martini. And in the movie Passengers, the bartender was an AI, a robot. But I'm not saying again that they're going to turn us into robots. They just want to make us go back to how we once were without thinking and just serving them. Now, for what purpose, I have no idea, because obviously they're not staying here, right? They went off on several occasions. So who is it that we are supposed to be serving? Anyway, obviously this is a very terrifying thought, right? That they are going to use something against our children that we have maybe no control over, or we believe we have no control over. And I think contingency 2 here, if they can sneak this in, okay, this cure, and I hope you know what I mean by that. It's an outbreak or a virus. What is constantly pushed for that? Okay, so if they can get it into the children, they can use those children against us. Use what they've done. For instance, maybe saying, well, if you do what we tell you, maybe we can change or give the child something different to make them... Okay, this is not coming out right. All right. If they can put us back in victim status by threatening our children, threatening to give them even more of something, or using our children to using them against us, okay? And that's a pretty horrifying thought, just to get us to go back to being in service. But behind the scenes, as what we saw previously, is that they are going to change our children down to the DNA level. And if you remember, we had teach your children here. They're trying to make us go backwards in evolution. All right, so 7 of Swords. Their reasoning, their reason for doing what they're doing isn't absolutely clear. We know it has something to do with the fact that we can think for ourselves, and they do not like that, okay? They don't like that growth that has taken place. They don't. So they want to destroy that. 2 of Pentacles. They wanted to work on the DNA of our children. That's what they believe is going to bring balance back to their side of the coin. 5 of Wands. Yep. They want us to become victims again so that they can just maneuver us around on that chessboard in any way they wish to do so. And they'll use the children behind the scenes to change things. 5 of Swords. They're going to make us think that there's something really, really horrible out there with this outbreak, and we're going to willingly get the cure for our children. They know exactly how to maneuver things, what to use to make us do what they want. Ace of Swords. They have a window of opportunity, and they've really thought this out. They really have. They've studied us, they've thought it out, and this is what they've come up with. It's not like they only have just one idea here, but this is their window of opportunity to change it, and they're going to take it. 8 of Pentacles. They want to give us the impression that all is good. Now that you've, done this with your children, everything's going to be absolutely fine. You're going to be wonderful. Life is going to be amazing. You can paint it whatever you want. But in actual fact, behind the scenes, they're working on turning us back to the original blueprint, the serving blueprint. 8 of Wands. So that's the news. That's your news bulletin right there. They are attempting to destroy humanity as we know humanity. So what will their intended purpose be? To change our children so that we are de-evolutionized instead of continuing to evolve. And if you think about it, with outbreak here in the center, I know it says that they haven't returned yet, but that doesn't mean that they're not working with somebody on the planet. Maybe they watched the situation in 2020 with the outbreak. Maybe they watched what happened and realized the power that has. So they can come back and try it. That doesn't mean that there's actually going to be one. You can falsify a lot of things, meaning be an outbreak, but they're going to definitely create enough chaos in our mind to make us think that there is, so that we will get the cure for the children. They're maybe going to say it's not going to help adults, but we can help the children. And in fact, that's the devious plan. All right, so let us go pick this up, clean up, and move on to question 4. Apparently we are really, really a threat to them. It has bothered them to no end that we have the ability to think and the ability to love and the ability just to feel things in general. My understanding is we can thank Enki for that, but okay. So question 4. When do the Annunaki intend to implement, boy, I can't talk today. When do the Annunaki intend to implement this new plan for humanity? So here we have a when again. The cards aren't always real good at giving a when, so let's see what is offered. Shop around the corner. We may not know when this is happening. It may begin to happen, okay, when everything seems normal, or as normal as things have been since 2020, whatever that normal is, okay? We may not notice the beginning because of this. Signs, but it's saying pay attention to the signs. There are going to be signs, and it will be obviously when they return. This could also be taken as a return card when they return, since they are from outer space. Communication. I feel like this is saying we need to listen. Begin to listen. And we have a little child here whispering in the ear, but that doesn't have to be a child. That can actually be our spirit teams, divine angels, somebody is going to be whispering in our ear, communicating with us to let us know that things really aren't as they seem or aren't normal as we think they are. Something is happening. The Anunnaki have returned. Pay attention to the signs. So it's like we're being given warnings so that we can be prepared. Nostalgia. We might get a specific memory when things begin to happen. A specific memory. For instance, maybe we'll be doing dishes and all of a sudden a memory of something that we heard in 2020 pops into our head. Maybe something that says, oh, stand 6 feet apart. Still one of the most ridiculous things I've ever heard. Anyway, like germs know, right? Anyhow, but something like that is going to pop back into our head. That might be what we hear or experience, is a memory. Aaron Brockovich, and this is telling us, be prepared to fight. Get ready to fight. Start gathering all the evidence that you need. Star Wars. I'm not even sure that requires any kind of explanation. Star Wars. We're fighting for our minds. Yep, we're fighting for our minds. This is a beautiful mind. That's what this card is. We are fighting for our ability to be intelligent and independent. So we need to get prepared. We need to listen. No matter how normal things seem, we have to pay attention. We have to notice those signs. And again, remember, signs is in the place where Love Train was, okay? And Love Train, the love frequency connects us. So those who understand the love frequency may start getting the signs even sooner than people who aren't. But we need to listen to our inner guidance or outer guidance, if that is our spirit teams or angels, whatever it is. We need to listen because we are literally in a war for our minds. Okay, so let's see what the tarot has to share. King of Cups. Yeah, we might feel like everything's stable right now. Our emotions are mellow and we feel good, and we have everything under control. Our relationships are great. We feel wonderful, but we need to tune in to that King of Cups to say something's happening. Understand that our intuition is on peak and we can feel that something's happening. It isn't as normal as it appears. And if you see this ship here, there's sails across there, but they're ghostly, right? Things aren't as they appear. The Lovers. This is a card of choice. It is up to us to determine what it is that we believe that we're seeing. It is up to us to decide to see those signs. Our choice. Two of Pentacles. We need to get balanced to hear the communication. We can't have work taking over our lives. We can't have money taking over our lives. We can't be constantly working or constantly trying to earn money to obviously make ends meet. But we need to be able to find a balance that allows us also to listen. to have silent times. Ten of Swords. This is where we will get the ultimate visions in our minds. Complete visions, not just a flash of this or a flash of that. Complete visions in our minds. Hanged man. Yeah, we need to... I know we have the love frequency. It's all about love, but we also need to know when to fight. And what we're fighting for, again, is our mind. So we need to have a new perspective here. We need to allow ourselves to fight for humanity as we need to fight for humanity. Seven of Cups. And notice we have star and stars. Is it love or war that is more important? Is it a combination of the two? We have a lot of choices here. A lot of choices. But what it comes down to is, do we want them to win? Do we want to go the way of the stars? The Annunaki. Do we want them to blink out specific things about humanity at their whim? Notice she's got a magic wand here. Can you see that? She has a magic wand as though they can blink out whatever they want. And I suppose if we don't fight, they will. So we have the Four of Cups. Now is not the time to turn our backs on the signs that we're getting, or the communication that we're getting, or the images that we're getting. Now is not the time. Now is the time to gather as much intel as we possibly can, once we know that they've arrived. Pay attention. Things aren't as normal as they appear. All right, so let us pick these up and get ready for question 5. Now, according to the cards, it appears that, no matter what they try, it seems that we can counteract it. That's what I'm understanding here. We might be facing another Annunaki experiment, but it looks like we're going to get warning, and we're going to have the ability to make a choice as to how we ourselves are going to handle what is happening. Okay. Number 5. What is the point of changing anything about humanity now, since we are no longer needed by them? And if I have the history correct with this, they created us to serve them in the mines. I think it had something to do with mines. I don't know a whole lot about this subject at all, and I haven't done any research or anything like that. So what I'm giving you is what I'm giving you. I don't know a lot. So, why do they think they need to change us? And I know it indicated in one of the questions that they felt like we were going to take over the universe. If they didn't do something about it, it would be their fault. So what is the point of changing anything about humanity now, since we are no longer needed by them? They don't really need us to serve them anymore, unless they plan on taking us someplace else. Age of Aquarius, let the sun shine in. And here we have the universal love card, the collective freedom, the cosmic awakening. This is not where they want us to be, because we're out of their reach. once we hit this point. Excuse me. We're out of their reach. There's nothing they can change at this point. And we are currently moving out of the age of Pisces and into the age of Aquarius. We're kind of in that limbo moment, limbo area. So Pisces is here, Aquarius is here, and we are in the middle, starting to gain the ground with the age of Aquarius, where things are much more peaceful, where it is about love, where it is, yeah, so they need to change that. I think maybe they're worried that we might be a little too powerful. And interestingly, we had Queen of Barbarella, or Barbarella, Queen of the Galaxy here. And it was a human fighting. So I might have misread that, but it was a human fighting. So yeah, they might actually think, and Queen of Cups, I believe, was also the card that came up with it. So they may feel like this love frequency, this age of Aquarius is going to make us way too powerful. Way too powerful for them to ever gain control of. Ever. Gravity. I think it's what that, the love frequency is what will change the earth. It is what will stabilize Mother Earth, stabilize humanity. And to them, it's a very grave situation. We can't go floating off into space as long as there's gravity, right? So, putting it another way, there is nothing that they can do to us when the age of Aquarius and this love frequency takes hold. Once we've gone to the fifth dimension. This song is by the fifth dimension. Transformation. Yeah, the transformation is gonna happen. So they feel like this is like their last ditch effort to make it not happen. They're fighting the stars, they're fighting destiny, they're fighting divine, but yeah. Night of the Living Dead. Yes. They want the transformation not to be what is meant to happen, but to turn us into non-thinking zombies. And I don't mean to eat one another or anything like that, as Night of the Living Dead will show. Not like that. They just want to make us automated beings. Do as you're told. Non-thinking. Not robots, but like robots. We would still have physical form and yeah. Rain of Fire. Come and get it. And Fantasy. So we had Aaron Brockovich here, and the cards are saying it's time to fight again. Rain of Fire is a fight between humans and dragons. Who's going to take over? There's not a lot of humans left in the movie. And the dragons are basically taking over and burning everything. So this is to say it's time to fight, which is what Matthew McConaughey and Christian Bale definitely do in this movie. It's time to fight. And they're going to, the Annunaki are going to try to entice us with as many things as they possibly can to get us to give in to them. but we need to stay in the higher frequency. This is important. It is what will actually keep us solid to the earth and allow us to transform and evolve as we are meant to for the fifth dimension. Let's see what tarot has to add to this. Oh. Four of Swords. It is the place with the Four of Swords. It is the stable, thinking, communicating place, the restful place is the fifth dimension. It is where we can and will be able to create whatever we wish, live however we wish, and it'll be beautiful. Seven of Wands. It's telling us we need to defend this gravity. We need to take that higher ground. In other words, stay in the higher frequency. The Sun, oh yeah, the transformation, the clarity that we are going to have, the amazing things that are going to be illuminated, that we are going to see. It might even make the Annunaki glow. Going, yeah, fight them. This is what we have to look forward to in the fifth dimension. And it's going, literally, it's going to be so stable that we may not have to worry about defending ourselves once we're there, okay? But we need to be able to transform. We need to embrace the light, embrace the love. Seven of Cups. They're going to try a lot of different things to keep us in the lower side of ourselves, the lower frequencies. They're going to try a lot of things, and especially on our emotions. Page of Cups. This is the message of love that we're getting. Get angry, fight. Fight for humanity. That is the love message here. Ten of Pentacles. Do not let them steal with come and get it. Do not let them steal our legacy. Whatever that is. And for each of us, our legacy is going to be different. Don't let them take our lives. Five of Pentacles. Do the best that you can, no matter how hard it seems here on earth at this time. No matter how difficult your health might be, or how hard your work is, or whatever is struggles that you're having, try to remain in that higher frequency, because you're vulnerable when you're in that chaotic state. So try to stay in that higher frequency. That is what will allow us to fight. That love frequency is really not okay with the Annunaki. They're not liking that at all. So, picking up here, moving on to question 6. There are 11 questions in this reading. Apparently there was a lot to cover with the concerns of this viewer. So, all right, so question 6. What role, if any, does Enki play in this return? What role, if any, does Enki play in this return? Over the top. Enki's always been said, okay, to defend humanity. And we have a military card here. So I'm thinking that he plans to fight for us as well. To be able to get us, to the age of Aquarius, completely into it, and to the 5th dimension as well. Okay, Charade says expect the unexpected from Enki. He's maybe going to appear as something he's not, perhaps. The prize. I feel like here he's going to go along with the plan, or seem to go along with the plan, but he has some military strategy here, some strategy, fighting strategy. But he's going to make it look like he is working with the Anunnaki. Demolition Man. When push comes to shove, I think we're going to see the side that he's actually on. Mother and child reunion. Yeah, because he supposedly has always thought about us, my understanding, as his children. That it was his responsibility for some reason to take care of us. Save us from his brother Enlil. In this case, we're talking about the Anunnaki specifically, so we have a face-off between Enki and the Anunnaki, which could very well include his brother. So he's coming back for this mother and child reunion to take care of us, help take care of us. Man trap. Does anyone really know what time it is? Yeah, he's coming back to fight the Anunnaki with this man trap. And this man trap is what we've been talking about all along, where, as we saw with Darkness Falls in this position, they were going to do something with the DNA of our children, and also in this position was outbreak, right? So he's coming back to defend us, even though it looks like at first with Charade that he is not working in our best interest. He is, because he doesn't want us brain dead. No. Does anyone really know what time it is when, you're like Night of the Living Dead? Do they care about time? No, they don't. So they want to make sure that we keep our lives the way our lives are. In other words, maybe not so much paying attention to time, but living in the now and having that love frequency and understanding divine timing and anything that is divine in a good way. So let's see what tarot has to share. The Magician. Yeah, he's going to trick them. That is the Anunnaki. He's going to do his best to trick them. Because he's, it says expect the unexpected. He wants humanity to reach their legacy, to be able to leave something wonderful for our children. He does not want humanity's life to be complete as it stands at the moment. Eight of Pentacles, he wants us to keep painting the lives that we want. He does not want us to be the Annunnaki's prize that they've won. Two of Wands, he has the choice. This is Enki's choice. He can stay with humanity, stay with Earth, or he can go off with the Anunnaki into the stars. But his choice is to face off. It was his choice. It's always been his choice. But his choice is to face off with them for humanity. Notice how she's holding the Earth globe. Two of Swords. Don't think it was an easy decision for him. It sets him apart completely from his own people. But it is who he is, and he's always had a soft spot for humanity. Three of Swords, yeah, they're going to do... Their plan is to betray. Anunnaki's plan is to betray, and Enki is going to come in to keep us out of that man trap. That is justice. That is what's true and fair in his mind. All right, so let's see where number 7 goes. It's good to know we have yet another ally, the way that it looks. Could he change his mind? Maybe. Maybe. But for right now, it really appears that he is, going to fight for humanity because, like it says, we've always been kind of a soft spot for him for some reason. Maybe because, if you believe in the stories, the history, maybe because they created us. So you kind of have a soft spot for your creation. All right, so number 7, is Enki separate from the returning Anunnaki? Okay, we've kind of covered that in question 6, but we're going to let the cards play it, see what more information they give. And this is, we know that he's seems to be playing a role, but maybe because we are who we are, human, because we are who we are, maybe we doubt it. So let us see. Is Enki separate from the returning Anunnaki? 7 days leave. He is unusual. He is different. He went his own way, has gone his own way. He's never been like the other Anunnaki. Patch Adams. I think he actually, he cared about humanity, cares about humanity. I think he might even have a sense of humor. Wouldn't that be something? I kind of picture them as being very stone cold faced. Think of the Vulcans on Star Trek, where they show absolutely no emotion. A lot of times their faces are just deadpan. And so I think his outbursts of laughter and things like that really throw them. He's very unusual. He's very different. First night, yeah, kind of the first of his kind in their race. First of his kind in their race. Whoa. So in this way, he is definitely separate from the Anunnaki. Definitely. Inner space. I almost feel like with this, he's explored his inner space, his inner self, like we are constantly striving to do. I feel like he has done that he's explored everything there is to explore about himself and discovered his differences from his people. He's been able to forge friendships, or has tried to, with other beings. And they like him. They really like him. He's good. He's good at what he does. He's a good person. He's good at what he does. And, this is saying too, this is also, okay, the main question is Enki separate from the returning Anunnaki? Yes, he is. He's one of the better ones. Definitely one of the better ones. Top gun, okay? But he did something unusual for us, for humanity. He gave us feelings. He gave us compassion. It was kind of a initiation in a way with First Night to help us learn how to explore more about ourselves, how to forge friendships. Start to explore the fact that, hey, we're not the only ones in the universe. Hello. Yes, he is separate from the returning Anunnaki, but he's going to make it appear as though he is part of them until the time comes for him to step in. And if you think about it, this inner space, giving us the compassion and sense of humor and that kind of thing, making us the humans that we currently are, having emotions. And this inner space, this is also the ability to explore who we are so that we do catch the signs. Remember, signs was here? Catch the signs concerning that outbreak and when things begin. So we have Ace of Pentacles. He could see how much potential we have. It's unlimited in his eyes. That is an unusual thing to think about the humans. The Moon. I think when he first started putting emotion, like an emotion chip, into our DNA, he had to hide it. He really did. But then, eventually once it takes off, you can't hide it. Some of the Anunnaki might have tried to pretend like it wasn't happening, but it was happening. Five of Swords. Yeah, nobody liked this experiment. They wanted us to have chaotic thinking. They didn't want us to come together in this kind of a way. They didn't want us to have compassion. They wanted our minds always mixed up and didn't want us to be able to think. And if we tried to think, they wanted it to be very chaotic thinking, so we couldn't make any sense of it. They didn't want us to be able to communicate with one another. They didn't want us to have ideas. They wanted all that to be chaotic. And what Enki did, was changed that. The Magician, he helped us manifest who we've become. Six of Pentacles. Forging relationships, good relationships, having families, sharing life instead of being all alone. And in previous Annunaki readings, the card 1 from the song by Three Dog Night came up quite often. They wanted us to be solitary people. They didn't want us to enjoy one another's company. Queen of Wands. They wanted us, or Enki once wanted us, to be able to meet other people in different cultures, in different places, with open arms, imagining the relationships that we could actually have with them, because his own experience is that way. Three of Wands. Yeah, this was his vision made reality. And he's good at it. He was good at it. And others recognize the fact that he's good at it from other places. All right, we're moving up to question 8 here. Finding out that Enki doesn't seem to be all that bad of an individual. Okay. Okay. All right. Question 8. Will the Anunnaki leave Earth after they have implemented their plan? Will they leave Earth after they have implemented their plan? Half-Breed by Cher. And please don't come after me for this card. It is a song. I feel like here that they are going to, well, they'll implement their plan where the children are concerned. They want to try and set it up so there ends up being 2 different walks of people for sure. And then slowly the we will phase out. Steel Magnolias. Yeah, the part that's going to phase out is this closeness. That's the plan. Kind of like in this card, we have the feather representing Native Americans and what we've always known about their close-knit communities. And here we have a city. 2 different worlds. In the city, people don't seem to care, or at least the common vision of that is people in the cities don't seem to care as much about other people. So this is their attempt at separating the worlds, taking the care out of us, okay? Taking away our caring for other people, for having any kind of relationships. They don't want that. Take the money and run. It's a greed situation. I don't think it really has anything to do with money. It is their payment will be in their minds. The Anunnaki's payment will be in their minds when this happens. Because if they can ingrain that in the children then we will phase out. The children will not care any longer, and those who do will eventually die, right? That's what they're working towards. Yep, see? Preying on the children. See the balloons and, yeah, preying on the children. Hotter than hell or volcano. Over the top. 1408. I think they're going to try to make sure that some of this happens before they leave. They want to see a huge explosion of their plan before they leave. What they're not counting on here is Enki or any kind of a fight from us. That's not what they're counting on. But I think what they're going to discover is their own nightmare, their own worst nightmare of seeing that it is very, very hard to tear apart this kind of love. They can attempt it. They can use whatever ways they have, but yeah. So let's see what tarot has to add in. The Hierophant. Yeah, they want the new teaching to be not the love frequency for sure. They are trying to breed out of us caring and love, all the things that Enki put into us. They want that gone. 10 of Pentacles. But again, the love frequency is the legacy of humanity. That's what it is. Our compassion, our caring, our love, everything about us, the emotions, that's our legacy to one another, to our children. Which is why they want to breed that out of us. 7 of Swords. Nobody knows really what their reasoning is behind it, okay? They just don't want it to be what it is. They don't want us to have what we have. They don't, I swear, as it said a little bit earlier, they feel responsible. If we take over the universe, it's their fault. Maybe. King of Cups. They want to destroy the emotion specifically. Because that emotion is what makes us human. What makes us love one another. Care about one another. If we don't care about one another, we don't care about anything, we are just there to serve. King of Pentacles. They want to make sure before they leave that we are no longer at the top of the food chain. Or stable, life stable. The Moon. Yep. Enki's going to slide in there before they even notice. And he's going to totally disrupt their plans. He's going to actually, instead of having this nightmare in 1408, he's going to bring it home and make this earth like the 5th dimension. It's almost like sliding into home base for the final win. So yeah, they're going to stick around until they see some of their plan exploding. And our part in this, if you're wondering here, okay, if they're going to stick around that and to watch their plan, that means that some of their outbreak plans have actually happened, right? That they've done something to the DNA of our children. However, if you think about it, they gave us signs, they gave us communication, told us to pay attention to what was going on around us. They'll never get that far if we don't buy in hook, line, and sinker to everything we're hearing about so-called outbreak, whatever they use. And don't allow them to use the cure on the children. So anyway, moving on to question 9. Will the Anunnaki forget about Earth or monitor Earth from afar? Now with this, I feel like, and this could be win or lose. And a lot of this is up to us. Not just Enki, but up to us. The Patriot. I think once they realize how strong we are, excuse me, and how hard we're willing to fight, maybe they will forget about Earth. Fried green tomatoes. Maybe when they realize no matter what they do, they cannot break up humans. They cannot tear us apart, no matter what. Because we're going to come back and fight. Dragonfly. We're going to come back, be reborn. I mean, even after we pass, when we come back, we're reborn the same. We're still going to be the amazing humans that we are currently. We're coming back with probably even more gifts than previous. They cannot, and I think they're going to figure this out, they cannot destroy that in us. They just can't. And that makes us very lucky life forms. Terminator. Terror at Midnight. Hearts in Atlantis. So I feel like with Terminator, it's just saying there's always going to be somebody trying to destroy humans. At least that's the way it is, because we are so unique. And there's going to be other terrifying scenarios, at least until we get into the 5th dimension. I think that's where it's safe. And when we look at this card, skip the movie, but Hearts in Atlantis. Atlantis was a magical place, from my understanding. It was very technological, yes, but the beings there were in the love frequency. And their lives were incredible with one another, And so despite everything that the Anunnaki want to do or try to do, or anybody else tries to do, we're like those beings in Atlantis. And we're going to make it. So it really wouldn't do the Anunnaki any good to monitor. I mean, it'd be a waste of their time. Although the Terminator card could be, where they're watching, just counting down until we finally are gone. But It doesn't happen. Page of Pentacles. Yeah, this is the message of life. The message of human life. We are willing to fight for the things that we believe in. And the way we imagine our relationships is never complete. We will never be able to imagine relationships being gone. That would be, yeah, that's too heavy of a burden to carry. It's not ever going to be that way. And the way that we think and communicate, and including beyond the veil, there is no end to how we're going to evolve. Seven of Cups. We have so many choices. We're so very lucky. So many things to choose from, to grow, to evolve. Five of Swords. Yeah, it doesn't matter what kind of chaos is thrown at us. There's always going to be somebody who doesn't like who we are. Knight of Swords. No matter what they bring our way, we will actively fight. This is the Knight of Swords. We'll actively fight because we can think. We can strategize. We have minds. The beautiful mind card that was here. That's, remember, what we're fighting for? The Tower. Yeah, no matter what. And yes, Atlantis did fall. At least that's our understanding. But it stood for a long, long time. And if we stay in the love frequency and we stay strong within ourselves, again, what's the point of the Annunaki coming back and trying to repeat? Because every time they do this, every time they try to change something, it just makes us stronger, right? So I can't really answer that. Will they monitor? I'm going to say yeah, for a little while they may, with this Terminator card. For a little while they may monitor, okay? But they're going to see the same thing over and over and over again, with us being willing to fight for the things that we believe in. And we are going to grow mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually. We're going to grow and become very powerful people in the love frequency. All right, so now we are at question 10. Would there be any reason that the Anunnaki would need to return to Earth again in the future? Well, if they forget about Earth, I guess not, and like in the last question, but I do think that they plan to monitor for a little bit. Would there be any reason that the Anunnaki would need to return to Earth again in the future? I don't think they can. I don't think they can. Once we reach a certain frequency, I don't think it's possible for them to come back. But we might actually reach a frequency where we are on a very similar level to them. And perhaps they would attempt to then communicate. Black water. There's the monitoring card. So yeah, they might actually continue to monitor and reach out at some point if we reach their level of communication that they feel they can deal with. turn, turn, turn. It's going to be many, many seasons. But they are patient. They are patient. And I think they really are expecting the unexpected with this, because when their plan is foiled, and they will know that it is, Enki has helped that along, but when their plan is foiled, they are going to wait around and see exactly what happens. They'll monitor. So that answered the last question. Lonesome. Mother and child reunion. And mask. So if you think about it, they're pretty alone in the universe. At least seems that way. Or they're going to come across as though they are needing friends because they're lonely and nobody is like them. Okay. They might make it appear as they really care about us when and if that communication takes place. But by that time, I think we'll be able to see through pretty much anything. We'll know if it's factual. I feel like they're still playing a game or trying to play the game, because at that point it's going to be kind of a even playing field in intelligence. So I don't think we're going to be fooled. Yeah, their communication at that point would be not true, not honest. They're not going to evolve and change the way that we do. We know ourselves, and we've been able to, well, through learning about ourselves, we've been able to begin to understand true facts about others. Be able to scry in and see truthfully where that is, because the love frequency gives us amazing power within ourselves. This time will come much sooner than we think. Chariot is always a fast moving, but time is speeding up. Seasons are moving faster. So this time will come much faster than we expect. And I think it's almost divinely called to happen. Now, this is not saying that the Anunnaki are coming back to Earth, okay? They're testing out the waters here, communicating with us, seeing what they can fall for. But it is going to be a long time, but not so long, if you get my drift there. Time is still time on Earth, okay? So a year is a year, but in the scheme of things, it's more like a blink of the eye. And they are going to, we need to expect the unexpected, that they are going to, because it's divinely destined, perhaps, they're going to be called to communicate with us, to connect with us. They're going to play on our emotions, because again, our emotions are still going to be a major part of who we are. So if they say, oh, we're very lonely, we need someone to talk to that, understands us, and they're going to play on the emotions. They're going to bring up perhaps memories of Enki. I don't know if he'll still be around at that point. But using our own stories that we probably passed down to our children about Enki, about how he cared about humanity, they're going to play on that, try and create harmony using that. Knight of Pentacles. But it is just a ploy. They are still in it for the game, for whatever it is that they think that they are meant to gain from humanity. But long ago, we learned how to fight. We're slow to have to do that now because our life is much slower, much more peaceful. But we're very intelligent at this point, and they will not be allowed to return, is how I'm going to state that, because they can't fool us. All right, so let's move on to the last question here in this reading. All right, question 11. What do the Anunnaki want humanity to ultimately understand from their involvement in our destiny? Wow, that almost sounds like there's supposed to be something wonderful that comes out of it, and I guess to some degree there will be, but let's see. What do the Anunnaki want humanity to ultimately understand from their involvement in our destiny? They're going to try and make it seem like they are the ones who helped us with this beautiful mind card develop. They challenged us to a point where we had to fight for our minds. So they'll take credit for that. Ball of confusion. We know that that's obviously corrupt, misleading information. Our beautiful minds are developed because they were meant to develop. We didn't allow all of this confusion to taint our evolution. We went our own way. We didn't allow them to. We fought. We fought. We didn't allow them to take away. Our growth. We didn't allow them to take away our relationships. The prestige, the blob, Bridge of Terabithia. We didn't allow them to make our lives an illusion. We didn't believe in everything that they sent our way. What we didn't understand, we explored or we fought against. And our imaginations, what we could manifest when we learned to manifest, that it's our thoughts that do that, there was no stopping us at that point. So far, the Anunnaki want humanity to ultimately understand from their involvement in our destiny. What do they want us to understand? They want to take credit for our evolution, as though they never tried to stand in the way or change it. Eight of Swords. Yeah, they're trying to tell us that they released us. They helped us master our minds. That's what they want us to believe. They put us at the top of the food chain. Made sure that our minds were clear and it wasn't a ball of confusion. They taught us, they're going to want us to think that they taught us to love ourselves and love one another and be independent. They taught us how to balance our relationships with ourselves, meaning there's always a balance, alone time, social time. But as we know, that's all an illusion. The prestige is an illusion. It's a magic show. 10 of Wands. They want us to believe that they carried all of the burden to get us where we are. When in fact, what they don't want us to know is they were the ones who caused a lot of the chaos in our lives, starting out with treating us or having us be servers to them. Moving us around like we were, on a chessboard for them. That's where it all began, and they don't want us to know that. They don't want us to remember that. And they want to be the ones or they don't want to be known or have it ever come to mind for us that they were the ones who tried to destroy our ability to think, destroy our ability to communicate, have ideas, have beliefs of our own, interact with one another. We know better now. So the Anunnaki can, and this could have fed off of the previous question about the things that they are trying to convince us of. Remember, it was, would there be any reason that the Anunnaki would need to return to Earth again in the future? And it was when we reached a point where they felt like they could communicate, so they reached out on the frequency, and down here was mask. Basically, I feel like this was the communication that they were putting out as to, hey, this is what we did for you. We're lonesome now. Remember the lonesome card, which now is with prestige, the illusion? They want to put the burden on us to accept them because they carried the burden for us. So yeah, that's the game. That's the new game that they would play if we would allow it. So there we go. We could definitely be facing the next Anunnaki experiment, but you know what? It's going to go in our favor, the way that it looks, as long as we don't buy into everything hook, line, and sinker. And the thing that sticks out is the outbreak card. And darkness falls with the DNA and the children. Okay? As long as we don't fall for everything hook, line, and sinker, it will go our way. And the Anunnaki will eventually just go. And Enki will also be a large part of that. The battle that we have with the Anunnaki in that way. All right. So thank you so much for being here. And I hope you've made it to the end. I really appreciate these viewer requests. So if you have a request of your own, you've been watching this video and you have a request of your own, it does not have to be just about the Anunnaki or Enki or Enlil or anything like that. It can be about pretty much anything. So if you have a viewer request, please put it down in the comments and I will do the best I can to see what we can find out about what you want to know. So that is it for this episode. Thank you again for being here. Until next time, take care.